Hello and welcome back to the Absolute Football Podcast. I nearly forgot the name of it then because we've had a 2 week break after the internationals. Happy to be back, Tom?
I am, and I'll be honest, I think in hindsight, maybe a week off during internationals when nothing's going to happen seems a bit of a foolish move now.
Well, plenty to discuss at least. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's just get straight on with it. Tom, what was your highlight of the week?
My highlight of the week or my star of the week and I'm going to go with this purely based on the Premier League. I'm not going to include any internationals because I thought the standard was subpar at best across the board, and a lot of teams played their second team, so I think it's kind of just fair enough to just include the Premier League. I think Harry Kane, after yesterday's performance, is like properly back. And his assist for Son, which I think was the first one yesterday, was special. And he scored two and hit the post and is basically playing number 10 at the moment. He's not really playing as an out-and-out 9. So I'm going Harry Kane purely because there was a period towards the end of last season where it was, I think we spoke about at the start of the season, that under Mourinho, he's not going to get as many shots. He's not going to be able to keep up the 20 goals a season that he was, because he was just an out-and-out goal scorer. And I think you said it as well, that people underestimate how good a footballer he is and how good a passer of a ball he is, when everyone spoke about Rooney like that and nobody ever spoke about Kane like that. But I said his pass for Son's goal was just ridiculous. If Pogba had done that, like I think Pogba did... Well, no, Pogba's wasn't even an assist in the international break. And there was like... Sports Bible put a thing, look at this amazing from his own half, and Kane's was 45 seconds in. So I think he's just rubber stamped the fact that he's world class. And one of the things I was thinking when it was going on, because I didn't watch the game, but I've seen the highlights, and on our fancy football group chat, it was flying through. So every time a goal went in, I saw it. He's definitely the best player in that team, even with Gareth Bale, by an absolute distance, I think, which I think is testament. You'd never have imagined that 18 months ago, I don't think, 2 years ago. So I think he's got to that stage now where he's elevated to officially world class, and there's nobody who can really argue with it, I think. There may have been 6 to 8 months ago when he was kind of transitioning into what Mourinho wanted him to do. I think that maybe was the problem. But yeah, star of the week's got to be Harry Kane. I think he's just... And to start the season, it was five games, 5 goals, 7 assists. It's just silly numbers.
Yeah, incredible. But I'm going to break down a couple of things you said then. So first of all, my highlight was going to be that it's the end of international break. Because honestly, and I actually mean this, does anyone care? Apart from when it's a World Cup or a Euros, even I would dare say qualifiers, does anyone care?
Yeah, because you're an England fan, mate.
What do you mean?
I'm a Wales fan, so we do care, because qualifying because let's be honest, because the way the seeding system works, England qualifying, apart from that one time, Germany qualifying, Spain qualifying, France qualifying, is pretty much a given. Whereas if you're a Welsh fan or a Northern Ireland fan or a Scottish fan, every single time it's the hope that kills you. It's like it's the equivalent of being in the Championship, trying to get to the Prem and falling at... Or finishing
being a Derby fan.
Yeah, not exactly that yet. Not just getting to the playoffs every now and again, but just falling short. So no, I think there is. I think the problem is just because if you're one of the top nations, it's a complete waste of time. They may as well just put you in the tournament to start off with.
But do you care about the international friendlies?
Absolutely not. No, or the Nations Cup.
Right. Okay.
Couldn't care any less.
See, I disagree. I think the Nations League has brought something to it. Because I never used to even bother. Most of the time, I'd even forget when they were on.
Yeah.
I actually can tell you when the games are most times now. Most of the time, England would have played 2 games in a week in international friendlies, and I would have got to the next weekend where Arsenal are back, and I couldn't have told you the result. Didn't care. Had no idea. But now I actually have something. I do actually properly try and tune in and watch it. So I think it has brought something. But I still think, in general, does anyone actually care?
No, not really. It's a fake trophy, isn't it? It's the League Cup of international football. It's the Community Shield of international football.
The Audi Cup.
It's the Audi. Yeah, it's the Audi Cup. The only thing Spurs can win.
Well, speaking of Audi Cup champions, then, and I'll segue on to the Harry Kane bit then as well, because he's also my star of the week as well.
God, we're getting crap.
And
at this,
it is that conversation. I know, yeah, we just have the same ones every time. To be fair, I did have a mention I have a little jot down of Dean Smith as well and the job he's doing at Villa. I think he's really he's going to have a fantastic season. I'd be surprised if he wasn't one of the nominations if they carry on in the vein they are for manager of the season at the end of it. And I just think his whole managerial career, when you look at it from Walsall to Brentford to Villa, he's just constantly on the up, and I just think he's going to take them in the right direction. But yeah, Harry Kane. So this is the exact conversation we had where I said what had happened is I'd heard him in an interview say that he feels like he could be a great number 10, meaning the kind of Wayne Rooney role. And I remember thinking, to be honest, whenever I watch him, he gets the ball and shoots. He's like Cristiano Ronaldo, just gets the ball, gets out of his feet and shoots. And he's incredible at it, but that's all he does. And then I think we had that conversation, and I don't think I actually did say he can be, and he is a fantastic passer and all of this sort of stuff, because I hadn't seen it. It was then when I started watching the games fully. You know, you always used to say to me about Hazard when I'd sort of rack up the numbers at you, because it's what you do with any footballing argument. You get up Wikipedia
100%.
and you go goals and assists, right?
100%.
But you look at it, and there's a lot more to it, obviously, than that. Of course there is. But you always used to say to me, watch the full games. So then I started to watch the full games of Chelsea. And I was like, he is by far the best player on the pitch. It's not even
every
close.
single
no
game
one is even on his level at all. Every single touch, every single thing that he does is just polished. And that's on a pitch of other professionals, so it's just incredible. And Harry Kane is like that. Everything he does. I mean, he nutmegged the centre defensive mid who's being linked with a £70 million move as if he wasn't there. His passing, like you said, it's a Pogba pass. It's his finishing. And the fact that they lost 3-goal lead and it came back to 3-3 completely has sort of brushed his performance under the carpet. It was one of the best individual performances in the Premier League for possibly ever, but for a long time. It was incredible.
And it's like if he didn't hit the post and that had gone the other side, it's a hat trick on the end of it. And I don't know, would he ever? Because I know Bale got through 1-on-1, didn't he? I'm not sure if he was the assist for that as well. So it's just like
he was.
It's just the creativity, the goals. He's got absolutely everything. It's you don't want to say Ronaldo, Messi, because Ronaldo didn't really have that many assists. But it's
he does. He actually does. He has a surprising number of assists. Ronaldo.
He does.
Not as many as Messi, but he does have a surprising number of assists. Yeah.
So is he?
I know what you mean. Though he's not at that level. But at what point does he go to the elite clubs? Because he's got to leave Tottenham if they don't win something this season, Tom.
I don't know. He does. I think now you look at that Tottenham team, and the problem is now in the Premier League that we're going to say, look at that team so many times this season, because there's so many teams who 1 to 11 are ridiculous sides. There's probably 8 teams who you're like 1 to 11. You're like, really, really good team. They're top 4 challengers, which is why I'm worried from a Chelsea point of view. Every time I watch, I'm getting less worried, but I'm still thinking there's a lot of good teams in this league now, and that's without even considering teams like Villa, without even thinking about Wolves in that argument. But I think the only reason I think he moves is if one of the big, and I'm probably going to get slated by an Italian fan here, but one of the big, or a French fan, the big 3 come for him of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. I think they're the only clubs he goes to. I don't think there was always a thing about him going to United. I don't think that happens. I don't think he'd go to another English club. I don't think another English club could realistically afford him, in all honesty, for the amount of money that he'd want, that Daniel Levy would want for him. I think they're the only 3 clubs you'd go to.
Well, it's 200 million, isn't it?
Yeah, and Bayern don't pay that kind of money, so it has to be Real Madrid or Barcelona. Has to be.
You could see it being Real Madrid, considering that Benzema's probably going to retire in the next season or two, or at some point his ability is going to drop off. Because what is he, 34?
Yeah, he's getting on now.
You know, and they do go out and get the best in the world, and I really struggle to find a better centre forward in the world than Harry Kane. Lewandowski's the only one. Apart from that, so there you are then. So but does Kane want to stay and beat Shearer's record? That's the thing. In which case, I mean, I can't see a move anywhere else because I can't see a better team suited for him than Tottenham. But
no, because but I think he walks into any team in the league. Man City need a new striker, really? I know Aguero played on the weekend.
Man City would be an incredible signing, yeah.
He'd be unbelievable, but would he go to City? let's be honest, Liverpool need a striker. Does he go to Liverpool? Or is he going to do the Al-Ashir? Because we've spoken about this a lot in the last couple of weeks, since we did start the podcast and before, that you look at the players who've stayed are the ones who've had better careers. In recent times, the whole Aubameyang argument. Hazard's been a flop. Coutinho's been a flop. Vardy stayed.
Aubameyang hasn't scored since he signed his new deal, by the way.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
So gutting.
Yeah, thank God he's out with fantasy team.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I should have. Well, that's go on later. But yeah, I don't see where he goes. I really don't. But I think he probably. I reckon he probably stays another 2 years because I don't think anybody's because Bayern Munich are going to carry on with Lewandowski the way he's going. I think Benzema stays at Real Madrid for another probably 2 years. I just checked out. He's only 32. So I reckon they could.
Oh,
probably,
is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was 34.
He's 33 in December. So I reckon they could probably get another 2 years out of him. By that point, Kane's say what 29, 28, 29 probably. Good time to move on then. And say he wins the FA Cup with Spurs. I think that's what it'll be. I think he's got it in his head. He needs to win a trophy with Spurs. The second they win something, I think the big teams come calling, and you can't ignore those kind of stats on such a consistent level as well. For effectively a second tier team, which I know Spurs fans will kick off, but they are a second tier team.
But this is the thing. I don't think if he carries on with this whole I'll stay until I win something, I don't think he's going to win anything. Like how can you be 3 goals up at home against West Ham with 10 minutes to go and end up drawing 3-3? It's just unacceptable. That's a Mourinho team as well. Like, you can't get a better manager. It was Poch's fault, then it's Mourinho's fault. Like, the squad is incredible. It's such a good squad.
Such a good squad.
Like, you can't argue that most of those players wouldn't make it in. Whatever team wins the title this season, you could put those players in it. So at what point does he go, I'm not going to win anything here? I've got to leave. Or does he not waste the career, because he's a Spurs legend already. If he breaks he's a Premier League legend already, but if he breaks the scoring record, then it's not a wasted career. But it is that thing that footballers are judged on trophies. Although you do look at like Totti, for example, and the loyalty was sort of what made him a legend in the end. So maybe Kane would try a similar thing. You don't know.
I don't know. He seems like quite a bit of a, because he's very grounded, isn't he? And like he doesn't drink alcohol ever.
Yeah. No,
he's like the ultimate professional.
He's had the same girlfriend, fiance, wife that he's had since he was like 15 or something. So,
yeah, so he
and they
seemed
were friends
like
since they were like 8. So
Yeah, so I think we talk about the big money move, but you think about it, and I know it sounds all well and good, but if you got offered double your salary to go and do it in Madrid, but with no friends and no family, would you do it?
Well, it's the Bale situation again, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Bale went and did it, and is now one of the most decorated British footballers of all time.
The most decorated
in terms
British
of trophies and in terms of I think he might be. Yeah. Well, no, you got Ryan Giggs obviously, and but yeah. So you look at it and you go, okay, who made the right decision? In the end, you go, okay, Bale, it went sour. And he sits there and goes, I hate the fact that I was never loved, even though I gave everything to that football club and won them trophy after trophy. And he did just win them. He was the single-handed, scored the winning goal in many finals for them. Yeah. So it's that thing again. The one thing I would say is that I think Kane is more of a professional than Gareth Bale, if that makes sense, in that I don't think his commitment, regardless of what happened, and his self-belief would ever go. I just think he's constantly backs himself and he constantly trains and works hard.
Yeah, but you remember Gareth Bale when he left Spurs? That season, it's one of the best seasons ever, when he was just pinging it from 35 yards, top corner, just non-stop.
Every single game.
It was just relentless. It was like, of course he's worth 90 million. And it was like, all he ever did was, it was the Iron Robin thing. You know what he's going to do, you know what he's going to do, you know what he's going to do, but you couldn't stop it. And he was the pure confidence, and they ripped his soul out. Does Harry, especially now with Gareth Bale there, does he look at it and go, because he's now going to be speaking to Gareth Bale, you're telling me that's not a question he's asking. What was it like? Give me all the pros and cons. What's it like living in Madrid? What's the culture like? Because that was the whole thing with Gareth Bale, wasn't it? That they all go out for meals at 11 o'clock at night and he's packed up in bed. Just because it's the culture, it's completely different. So he never spent any time with his teammates. It's those little things I think they don't get discussed amongst football fans, because it's all about play for Real Madrid. You don't think that You play for Real Madrid for 90 minutes on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock for a start when their games are on. But is that what you really want? When you could be this absolute legend in arguably the best league in the world, which I know we're probably going to talk about again. But I don't know if he moves. I think
it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. It could go either way. I think if he moved, I think he'd win trophies, and then everyone would go, "That's the reason he's left," and and he'd go and score whatever amount of goals he would. Equally, if he stays, I don't think he's ever going to look back on his career and be disappointed, regardless of the decision he makes. So, it's one of those ones. As an Arsenal fan, obviously, I want him to leave. So it's the only thing that makes them a semi-elite club. So
ASAP, get rid of him.
But there we are. Exactly. So, so he was both of our stars, and like I said earlier, I had an honourable mention for Dean Smith. But who was your stinker then?
So this came on Saturday. I didn't really get much chance to watch the games on Sunday. They didn't look overly great. But I saw the goalkeeping as a whole was awful. So I watched the Liverpool game, followed by the Chelsea game, and it was just so bad. So bad.
Do you listen to Radio 1 by any chance?
No, I don't.
So Greg James is not a massive football fan at all, the morning breakfast presenter.
Yeah.
He's a cricket fan, right? But he said that obviously all he hears on the sort of sports section is about these mad football scores. And he's got a conspiracy theory that the government, to try and keep people happy in the current circumstances, are larding up goalkeepers' gloves.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it to Jordan Pickford. Jesus. He is so lucky of that phantom offside. It's unbelievable how lucky he is, because that was awful goalkeeping. Michael Keane's goal should never have gone in. Kepa.
Okay, hang on, wait. I'm gonna stop you there before you carry on. I'm gonna stop you there because one of my topics actually, and we might as well touch on it now and then come back to our stinkers because we've got quite a few topics to get through today. But one of my topics is about that Jordan Pickford incident, and what I wanted to understand from your point of view is the inconsistency with the two situations. The Jordan Pickford one, so the offside was given, and the reason that it wasn't looked at for a red card is because the initial offence was before that incident. So whatever happened after the initial offence doesn't matter, basically, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at and I mean, I'm not even going to argue for a start argument before I make my second point about whether that's right or wrong. But the second incident, then the Richarlison red card, the referee had blown his whistle, the ball carried on. So he'd blown his whistle for a foul, the ball had carried on, and Richarlison and Thiago had both gone in for a tackle together, and that was given as a red card. So how can that be given as a red card when it's happened after an incident where an initial foul has taken place, when the same thing has happened with the Jordan Pickford case, where the initial incident is the offside, which stops the second incident being looked at? I don't understand the inconsistency.
Because they were consistent and they did look at it. It came out on Sunday that VAR looked at it and didn't think it was worthy of a foul play.
Oh, really? So what's the rule then? So is it that it doesn't matter what happens after what phase of play?
Well, no. So VAR, they looked at it after, because in theory, by that logic, if that's the rule, the whistle goes, you can punch somebody clean in the face and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean. So I'm wondering. I thought that was the reason nothing was given, because I thought that's the only logical thing in my head.
VAR looked at it and deemed it not a foul. Well, they obviously said it couldn't be a foul, could it? Because it was after the play. So it could have been a red card, but VAR deemed it not to be a harsh enough tackle to be a red card. Because VAR couldn't give a yellow, VAR can only give a red. So the idea is that they looked at it and thought, that's not a red card, so play on.
I don't mean to do the Alex Ferguson meme, but he could have been killed.
Well, he's out for 8 months. He
could have been killed.
He's out for 8 months. It's been confirmed he's going to be out.
So they actually looked at that. You're telling me that's not just your opinion. You're telling me that's factual. They looked at it.
I read articles on it,
and they did not give it.
Yeah, for exactly the same reason. Because that's what I thought.
That is incredible.
Because the problem is that they can't do it. They can't say, "Oh, it was offside." So it's off the ball incidents go all the time. People get like Reece James got red carded after the final whistle in an international break. So. Doesn't have to be in play. It's the whole thing with like the Manchester United Brighton thing, where you blew the whistle and then went back
to the final whistle.
So you could do it. So it wasn't that they checked it and they didn't deem it strong enough to be a red card. Because they checked.
Incredible, Tom.
Because I don't know if you watched the game, but how many times they showed the replay of it, they were checking it and they didn't. They just said it wasn't a red card.
How?
Because then this is a point.
Well, that's made me more annoyed then, because
Yeah.
my argument was going to be, what are we discussing? Is it what phase of play we're looking at or anything like that? So you're telling me it's nothing to do with that, which would make more sense in my head. I was going to say, if that is the case, that what I said first time round was the rule, then it needs to be abolished, because like you said, if that happens, then someone can just go and elbow someone in the face as soon as the whistle's gone. So I was going to make the argument that should be the case. So that has blown my mind. I honestly, I'm more angry with VAR right now than I was straight after the incident. I can't be bothered anymore, Tom.
I know, and that's even without the offside. The offside at the end of the game, which they've
I forgot it.
Which they've said there was something came out that the pixels of the cameras they use there's not enough pixels for them to be able to work out millimeters, and the thickness of the lines that they used is the reason that Sadio Mane was offside. Never. That's onside. That's onside. That's coming from a Chelsea fan who has been Everton's biggest supporter from the start of the season. That's offside. Sorry, that's onside. That's onside every day of the week. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. It's just awful.
But this is the thing. I don't want this podcast. I would get into a massive debate with you, but I don't want this podcast to become
just be VAR.
A VAR every bloody week, because it's well, I suppose that's a sign of what's happening to football because of it. And like I said to you before, I like VAR. I think we need VAR, but the VAR, the way it currently works, is just
doesn't work.
It's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
I did hear a good decision. I did hear a good proposition from somebody that was saying that the problem is we're using it for everything. What it should be used for is it's not video analysis's fault. It's because it's trying to be put into a system of the way football's rules are structured. So in tennis, it works perfectly because of the way the rules are. They only use it in rugby when there's stop and play, because there's a lot of stop and play in rugby. So then it makes sense. So there's not as much flow to a game. Cricket, exactly the same. The game's stopped. Let's have a check. So what you do is you only do it for red cards, and I can't remember what the other thing was. It was something else anyway, but you don't use it for goals unless, and then it can't be an automatic check. And so basically whoever's running the VAR, then they check it in the background, everything goes on. You don't see any of it, and they make it, and it has to be a certain, say, 30 seconds. They've got 30 seconds to make a decision. You look at it and go, no, come on, it's so close. You look at that, I'm sorry, it's too close for you to go last minute winner in the derby. Imagine that stadium was full. You're a Liverpool fan, and then it ruins the game. I'm sorry. I've been very pro VAR. That was the one for me where it's just like, it's disgusting. That's shocking. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd have been, I feel angry for Liverpool fans.
Yeah. And I do too.
On the Jordan Pickford thing, though, do you think there should be retroactive punishment for challenges like that? Should now Jordan Pickford, should there be a panel that meets on a Monday morning, well, Tuesday now because every game's televised, and they look at it and go, yeah, that's a 3-game ban. There has to be. That should have been a straight red card. And I think there has to be taken into consideration the fact that Virgil van Dijk's out for 8 months. He has to.
But the outcome of it, I know in this situation is quite black and white, right? Because the tackle was so bad and the injury is as bad as the tackle was, right? Yeah. But that's not always the case. Sometimes there's like a really minuscule tackle and someone breaks a leg. And
but I think if it's such a violent tackle and there's the guy's 8 months out, I think that has to be taken into consideration. If it's an innocuous one,
then it starts going to the bloody police or something.
Well, Ben Thatcher, when he was playing for City against Pedro Mendes, got done for assault.
But that's true. Yeah.
It should be. I think now there should be a panel who meets and go, right, Jordan Pickford, there was nothing done in the game. VAR got it wrong. Happens in rugby all the time. You get cited after the game, and somebody does a high tackle. You may not notice it in the game because of what's going on. A panel meets afterwards, going, we should have caught that. The referee should have caught that. now banned for 5 weeks. Because I think it's so unfair on the whole system that I never thought I'd say this, but unfair on Liverpool that they miss their talisman now for 8 months. They get a horrific offside decision. Jordan Pickford not only breaks the guy's leg, then has his blushes saved by VAR. Is his dad in the thing controlling it? It's ridiculous. How can he walk away from that game with no punishment of any description? I think it's shocking. I think
there not. I swear there is this panel. I swear there is a panel that, because I always hear about retrospective action. I swear that always happens. So there must be a panel in place already. So have they looked at it and decided that it's not?
Or is that only for when you're appealing a red card? You always go to appeals if you get a red card. Because I can't think. I think Ben Thatcher got done for that LB years and years ago. I don't know if he had like a couple of week ban afterwards, but I feel like Jordan Pickford should for that tackle because it was horrible. I
think if VAR are gonna turn around and say that they missed it and that they looked at it and decided, well, no, because this is the thing. It's not like they missed it. I agree with you if they missed it completely and no one saw it and VAR forgot to check it and they go, yeah, we got that completely wrong. But they've actually said we checked it and decided it wasn't, and they're the referees. A panel is going to be a bunch of people who don't understand football anyway, just making a decision. So like, I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's disgraceful that he's gotten away with it, but I can't see how it justifies retrospective action because who's going to be making that decision? The people who are the professionals have already, and then so the one on the pitch, and then the people sat in the office, sat with other professionals, have all sat there and watched it and decided it's not a red card. All of them.
Yeah. So in theory, that people are going to make decisions. They're going to make too. Yeah.
It's tricky. But anyway, going back to, because you were talking about keepers anyways. Yeah. So going back to your stinker, you were talking about the keepers and obviously Jordan Pickford included in that, but carry on from there.
I want to put a caveat in there, minus Edison.
Man. Okay, fair.
Yeah, minus Edison.
Oh my God.
I think it was Aubameyang's. So you say he hasn't scored, but that was just a great save. So minus Edison. I think
Bukayo Saka's as well.
Yeah. What a save. So I think just the standard of keeper. I remember when we were growing up, there was that sort of couple of seasons where it was like Thomas Sorensen at Villa, Jaskalainen, I think it was the other one with S, Schwarzer at Middlesbrough. There was every team in the league had a really good keeper.
Casey Keller, Brad Friedel.
Yes. Tim Howard. Van der Sar was in the league.
Lehman, obviously. Yeah. Van der Sar, yeah.
Lehman, why not?
What, an invincible goalkeeper? Get out of here. I can't be asked.
Carlo Cudicini. But every team seems to have every team seems to have a really good keeper and like a pretty good backup. Whereas the standard of the first team keepers now, like Jordan Pickford, I don't get it. I still don't understand why he's England number one. Secondly, but I just think the standard seems to have dropped a lot. Like a lot. There's a lot of errors going on. Like De Gea towards the end of last season.
Are we going to talk about this? Are we going to talk about this topic without? I was going to say, are you going to just not mention Kepa? Because, come on, honestly, now, what's your thoughts now?
The second one.
Tom, honestly, if we were in goal, we would have at least connected with the bloody ball and put it out for a throw.
Why does he go with his hands? Why does he go with his hands? The whole point of wearing gloves, go with your hands. Fair enough.
What has he tried to do? Please tell me what he's trying to do.
Bring him down.
He sat down.
He's trying to give away a penalty. I don't know. And then then his recovery. Where he just like misses the recovery as well. It's not the. So he started 3 games this season, and has made 3 mistakes leading to goals, more than any other player in the league. Mistakes that have directly led to goals, 3 in 3 games. We're starting 1-0 down.
Incredible.
We're starting games 1-0 down when he plays.
Well, it's what I text you all the time saying he is liquid. He is water in goal, and that second goal was like literally, if I could have a single clip explain what I mean by that, water would have done the same job as him in that situation.
It genuinely looked like it went through his foot. It's like, because I don't think it was Danny Ings, wasn't it? He was running past him. I don't think Danny Ings got a touch on it, And he's just gone in there,
No, no, no.
slid past the ball for no reason. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Liquid, actual liquid. I don't understand. No,
yeah.
I agree in general. I think keeping. I'd say, in my opinion, obviously Villa have one of the best keepers in the league because I want him to still be Arsenal's keeper. In Martinez, I think he's had a solid season so far. I think Leno's had an okay season. Say that again.
Clean sheet again last night as well for Martinez.
Yeah, another clean sheet, and he was good distribution-wise as well, and a fantastic result for Villa again against Leicester.
Huge result.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think apart from Edison, Adrian, what is he? Jesus Christ again. Jordan Pickford, Kepa. Honestly, the list just goes on and on and on.
They're big
massive teams. Massive teams.
Well, just you Kepa and Pickford, £100 million plus worth of goalkeeper. Let that sink in.
It's just incredible, isn't it? To be fair, I'm not really complaining that much because I'm loving the amount of goals we're seeing, which is great. But it does. I do get what you mean. As an Arsenal fan, I've been lucky enough that Arteta is quite focused on our defensive structure at the minute. That I haven't seen Leno make that many mistakes this season. But I can't. I have been there as an Arsenal fan when we had the Almunia and Flappy Hansky days.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how frustrated you must be as a Chelsea fan or as any of these teams fans when your team is playing well. You're really fighting to stay in the game or even winning the game and fighting to hang on and everything like that. And like you said, every team has such good teams, such good players in their teams that it's going to be a close game, whoever you play, pretty much, unless you're Villa playing Liverpool. But no, it's going to be a really, hard-fought game every single time. So if you're playing against these sort of calibre of players and you're doing as well as you are doing, to have it completely undone by just pointless errors from a position that, like you said, it just should be able to do the basics. That Kepa thing isn't fancy. That's kids, genuine kids would say that.
The other two aren't his fault.
So I agree with you.
The other two aren't his fault, but we're under unnecessary pressure. It shouldn't. So we're 2-1 up, and then we're lucky to score straight after it to almost pull him out of it a little bit. But if we're 2-1 up for the rest of that half, the way we were playing as well, I thought Chelsea looked very good going forward. I thought I've seen Kai Havertz get some grilling, but I thought he played pretty well, minus his mistake for the first goal, which probably overplayed it a bit. But again, he's 21, or 20. But I think going forward, the way that Mason Mount, Werner, Havertz, Pulisic were all just sort of interlinking and floating around, looked brilliant. I thought Kante played well. I'm starting to see what Jorginho does, because Kante's covering him.
Oh, Tom,
Kante can't pass.
Let you go any further.
Kante can't pass.
You're doing the Chelsea. You're doing the heart on your sleeve, completely non-logical fan thing here. You've drawn 2-2 at home with Southampton.
3-3.
Yeah, you've drawn this season. You've drawn 3-3 with West Brom.
Yeah.
Right. I understand you're saying all these players are betting and everything like that, and I agree with you. I thought your German imports, Werner and Havertz, looked really good. Yeah, but you've drawn 2-2 at home against Southampton.
3-3. Yeah.
3-3. Sorry, was it 3-3? Was it
3-3? Yeah.
In my head, I actually thought I was going to say 3-3, and I thought no, it can't have been 2 3-0s already this season.
2 3-0s, yeah.
Well, but there we are then, 2 3-0s. So, yeah. At what point do you sit there and go, that's just not good enough? Because I don't think
it isn't good enough. No, it's not good enough. But this is what's really frustrating. And when you're watching the games, you look at it. And you use those 2 games as an example. So Chelsea aren't very good at keeping clean sheets. The one game that Kepa doesn't play, Caballero plays, we keep a clean sheet. One game Thiago Silva actually plays, we keep a clean sheet. But those 6 goals, out of those 6 goals, if we're going to start, because I know exactly what everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to grill into Lampard, and that's the reason that our defence is leaking, all that kind of thing. But out of those 6 goals that we've conceded, 5 of them were direct individual errors. And it doesn't matter how well you manage it. 5 of them are just individuals who've made a mistake and done something they shouldn't have done, quite clearly. Every single one of the ones against West Brom, 2 from Marcos Alonso, 1 from Thiago Silva. Then the 3 on Saturday, Havertz, a mixture of Zuma's pass back isn't good enough. But then is it the players aren't good enough, and then that's what he's trying to do and get these players out of the team. Well, let's be honest, it's a bit harsh on Zuma. It's Kepa's fault. And the third one, you're going to concede a goal at some point. They're throwing everything into the box the last minute of the game. I can't really complain about that one. Yeah, we're leaky, admittedly, but I think it's a lot of individual errors. And I think once you get to a point where you've not got Kepa in goal, like you said, with 3 games, 3 mistakes that have led to goals, you're starting your games 1-0 down. It's impossible. You can't. No team is good enough to start every game 1-0 down when you've got him in goal. Why didn't Caballero start on the weekend? I guess is the thing. But when he's got that price tag and that wage packet coming every month, it's hard not to play him as number 2. So I think he just needs to get out of the club for a start. So I'm all on Kepa getting out of the club, and I don't know. I'm starting to get to a point. I'm trying to work out: is it a defensive system from Lampard that's the issue? Similar to how it possibly.
I personally, without it getting into a bigger of a Chelsea Arsenal fan debate, because we've done that episode 1 and we don't want it to be like that every episode. But what I would say is that when you have to recognise as a manager when your players are not at the level that you need them to be at to play in your system. So Arteta doesn't want to play the way we play. He openly says that. I don't want to play this type of football, which is why it annoys me when I see Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, he's so defensive." It's like, literally, if we weren't like this, we'd lose every game 4 or 5-0. So just let him do his thing. He put, towards the end of last season as well, he has to create a system where Mustafi, like this towards the end of last season, not now obviously, but he had to create a system where Mustafi and David Luiz were not in positions where they could make individual mistakes. And they still made individual mistakes, by the way, like 1 or 2, right, between them. But that was, it would have been 9 or 10 if it was left to normal devices. So he put a system in place that meant they couldn't make those mistakes. And he's going to carry on with that system until he has the players he needs to play the way he wants to play. So at what point does Lampard go, I know how I want to play, but I need to bring it back until I have 3 or 4 transfer windows here?
Because I think that's the difference. Lampard's approach is, this is the way I want to play, and we're trying to win the league. We're trying to win the league as soon as possible. So this is the system we're going to do, kind of what Pep did. This is the way I'm going to play, and these are the players I've currently got, and I'm going to try and do what I can, but this is how I'm going to play. And I know I've said about it before with Pep that you need a plan B at some point, but I'm talking about Pep needing a plan B when he's in semi-finals of the Champions League, not at home to Southampton or away at West Brom. So I think if you've got your system, you play your system, and he's trying to win the league. I think we're going without being Chelsea Arsenal debate. I think Arteta's quite happy to finish 6th.
I disagree. But anyway, I'm not going to get on to
we're not going to that.
So your stinker then is obviously keepers in general and obviously Kepa. And I do think you're right. When Mendy was in goal, I thought Chelsea looked a lot more solid.
A lot more solid, yeah.
So, it's a shame that he's out injured now. But, he hasn't got a long-term injury, so it shouldn't be
only a couple of weeks, apparently,
in terms of starting lineup. And I think you're completely right. Until he's back, I think Caballero's just got to play. I just think Kepa can be nowhere near that starting lineup at all. But my stinker of the week actually was, just to finish this one off quickly before we get onto our topics, but my stinker of the week was actually Burnley, because we spoke last time about how they were desperate for investment. They still had the EFL window open. They could go out and sign some players from there and really sort of, bolster up the squad just in terms of numbers. And they didn't sign anyone. Again.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've played West Brom. We're recording at the time of recording. They've just finished playing West Brom, and it was a 0-0 draw. Which actually, I think they've done well to get that.
Yeah, again, I didn't watch the game. Just played 5-a-side, so didn't catch the game. But just got it up on the Premier League app, and Nick Pope got the man of the match, which probably says all you need to know about it.
So if they're getting dominated by West Brom, who haven't been able to dominate anyone this season,
no.
I mean, they're in trouble. They really are in trouble. And I actually thought we might come on here, this time, and I'd be saying, oh, they've signed this player from the Championship, good, solid Championship player. Oh, they've signed this player, good young prospect, from the Championship. Or this player from League One or whatever. And you go, oh, yeah, he's destined for, the Premier League at some point in the future, so will be good for a handful of appearances this season. No one.
Like literally a Matty Cash or someone like that would have been like that type.
Not even like Danny Welbeck. Just like someone on a free, someone who's there going.
Where did he go in the end?
Nothing.
Brighton. You go to Brighton in the end. Why not sign him?
This is what I mean. They haven't done anything. I don't understand what Sean Dyche, either he hasn't been given any backing or he's pretty happy with the players that he's got. I can't imagine the second is the case from the comments he was making towards the end of last season.
Or
It just sounds like he hasn't got the backing. And you go, do you know what? I don't know what he's meant to do.
There is an or here that has always been the problem that Newcastle have had, supposedly, that players want to live in London, players want to live in Manchester, players want to live in Birmingham. Do players really want to live in Burnley? If you've got the choice...
I know what you mean, attracting players.
It's like Danny Welbeck, full well, playing for Brighton's going to live in London. Because they're...
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Brighton have the attraction, don't they?
Yeah, because these teams who are sort of in and around these big cities... And I don't think Burnley's miles away from Liverpool and Manchester. But if you've got the draw of if you've got other options, would you really go to Burnley knowing the way they play? It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell to an agent knowing that you're going to get paid less wages to play worse football. Oof. Like, players probably want to go to Brighton. It seems like there's a project going on there. They've got a couple of good players, really good manager. I think there's just alternatives that players would rather go to. And maybe they've got the same thing that Chris Wilder was saying. 25 million for an unproven teenager these days, and they just don't have the cash to do it. We don't know what the financial issue is with them, because they've got a small stadium at the best of times. Now that's empty. They probably, I reckon, if you look at the sponsors that they get compared to the sponsors Chelsea and Arsenal get, I don't think they're paying the same sort of money. We'll have Rolex. They'll probably have Vanarama. That's the kind of thing you're going to get.
Yeah, so it's true. It is true.
So maybe it is money. Maybe it is money. And then there's nothing you can do. And to be honest, sorry, Sean Dyche, just get sacked as quick as possible, get the payout, and
I don't think they will sack him. I do think they'll be, the more and more I watch them now, because every season I do this at Burnley, and then they pull something out the bag, or, and I watched it tonight, I watched a bit of the second half of it, and they're all fighting for him. You can't say any of the players are down tools or anything, but West Brom had better quality players, far better quality players, and that's West Brom. Yeah, I think they're in trouble. So they're definitely my stinker of the week for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem you've got now is that the quality of the Championship has taken a step up since teams like Burnley, Bournemouth, another one. I think the Championship's now... It was always a competitive league, but I think now there's teams who've got genuine quality players there, like Said Benrahma, as an example. It would have been a travesty if he'd have stayed down there. But you look at players like that, the things they can do, and you're looking at Burnley and thinking, you're the League One team in the Premier League.
Yeah, and also the managers are getting higher and higher quality in the Championship. More and more sort of foreign managers who are quite transformational in their sort of leadership and vision and that sort of style. They're coming over and are willing to drop down to like Bielsa, for example.
Yeah, Bielsa and Slaven Bilic, prime examples.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Brentford's manager. I can't remember his name, but he's a very good manager and is a very sort of up and coming manager as well. And he's thought very highly of. So there's a lot of good quality managers down there. I think it's, like you've said, it's always been a competitive league. It's actually now a very technically gifted league as well.
Yeah. When you look at this, see the top the top sort of 6 or 8 when they play each other, like, this is. You always think if you get a top 6
proper
or top
football,
8,
this.
Yeah. Whenever they get like a Premier League team in the FA Cup, if they get a West Ham, they get a Burnley, you're like, this is going to be a game. And I think we saw in the League Cup this year that a couple of the Premier League teams do go down to them now, and it's tough to get back up.
For sure. Okay, so moving on then to a few of our topics we've got then. So obviously I was going to actually talk to you about the Van Dijk and Thiago incident, but we've gone over that. I actually wanted to discuss one really quickly with you and get your thoughts on it. I don't know if you saw in the City game, and obviously the backlash since, Aguero putting his hand on Sian Massey Ellis. On her sort of, I don't know what it was, her shoulder or arm.
Shoulder, yeah, I saw it live actually.
He sort of just put his arm around her. I saw it live as well. And okay, what was your first thoughts when you watched it?
Oh, can't be doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
You can't be doing that because she looked uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, she did. She really sort of tensed up and was like, "Please."
Tensed up and yeah.
So that's the thing. I thought as soon as he went to do it, I thought, okay, one, you can't be doing that. Second thing I thought was that's going to be made a massive deal of. And the third thing I thought was he's not done it the way I saw it anyway. It didn't look like he did it in the same way he would to a man. Is this am I making too much of it? To me, it was like he put his hand on her shoulder and proper I don't know how to
He
say
went like
it,
into
but
her
you
neck a
proper,
bit, didn't
you
he?
he probably went into her neck a bit, and it was like if it was a man, like you just kind of like touch him on the back or whatever. Well, you shouldn't be doing anyway. You shouldn't touch the officials, right?
Yeah.
But he wouldn't be. But he sort of like it was almost as if he was like going to give her like a cuddle. It's like what's
Yeah.
going on here? I felt uncomfortable watching it as a football fan, which made me think then this is not right. This is uncomfortable. But then I knew there'd be backlash against it, but I didn't know where I fell down on the backlash because I didn't want to go too much in like a it's because she's a woman. But equally,
Yeah,
I
of
was
course.
like, that's really uncomfortable. I don't know why. It just is.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, it was like, oh, it's like my whole felt like a bit, that
Yeah,
like
I felt a
weird
bit
when you
sick.
like when you like step on something squishy like in between your toes. It's like that kind of
You just
feeling.
cringe. You're like,
Yeah, like
oh no,
yeah,
what is
like a
that?
bit
Yeah, that's
like having a bit of
exactly how I
soggy,
felt.
bit of soggy bread between your toes or something like that. It's like, oh no, don't know why I've used that as a reference,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I agree. I felt a bit weird. It didn't feel right. It did feel that, and now I'm going to keep an eye on it. But what I don't want it to be the because she's a woman card, and I don't know
Yeah.
if he'd have. I think it's more her reaction. I think if he'd have tapped a bloke on the arm and he's just gone, and they're like laughing it off, it's different. But because you could see her the second his hand touched her shoulders, her neck went down, and he kept it there as well. That little bit longer, even though you could tell she was
But I didn't
uncomfortable.
like that's the thing, and I don't like the. I know you probably didn't mean it in this wording, but I don't like the, and it's the way I've thought about it as well. I don't want it to be like the reason that it was made uncomfortable was because of how she reacted, because
Mm,
it wasn't. The thing that made it uncomfortable was how he did it as well. And I
yeah,
understand what like Pep was asked about it, and Pep was like, "Come on, guys, like get over it, like stop being so silly. It was nothing." But I like to me as a football fan, if he'd put his arm on if he'd literally just gone like if he'd have like been like, "What the hell was that decision? What are you doing?" And then they talk to each other. Sometimes you see it with the men, the bloke officials, and they sort
yeah,
of sit there, and the official will say something, the player starts laughing, and will like tap him on the arm, and as he's running off. And
yeah,
if it had been that, if it had been like she said something and he starts laughing and taps her on the arm and walks off and goes, "Fuck," you would have gone fair enough. It wouldn't have even been a
yeah.
deal.
I wouldn't.
It's the
Yeah,
fact that he kind of got like he got a bit like close to her, and it was just like the arm on the. It was just, and she was immediately just like, "Stop it." It was just really the whole thing made me really cringy. I just didn't like it at all. I really
yeah. I don't
didn't.
think it should go any further. Um,
No,
but
I know, neither do I, because I don't think he meant it like that. It just every single action of it, the way in which his arm went onto her, the way in which she cringed, everything about it just made it really not nice. And I don't think it was
yeah,
meant like that, but it felt very uncomfortable as a football fan. It really did.
and she is a class lines person. Fair play.
Incredible, yeah.
Never misses an
Probably the
offside.
best in the
She's
business. So
yeah, she probably is. To be fair,
every single time she's officiating and it goes to VAR, I just go, don't even bother,
what's the point?
because
Yeah,
like she's made the right decision. Like she
she's
is like
better than
having a
VAR.
VAR on the sidelines. So yeah,
Yeah, she
exactly.
is.
Which is actually the level that everyone should be at. So they should all aspire to get to that level
It should
in
do.
general, anyway. But there we are.
But yeah, no, I agree.
Um,
I think it wasn't nice. Don't think it should go any further, personally.
no, no, me neither. Me neither. Okay, good one on that then. So another thing that looks like it's not going any further is Project Big Picture. Did you like that segue? That was
Oh, smooth.
like I've been on the radio for
Yeah.
years. So Project Big Picture. Okay, so as someone who's not that clued up on it, I've sort of heard talk about it, and I've read little bits and bobs about it. But explain, in case anyone listening doesn't really sort of understand what it is. Explain from your sort of side of things what you know it to be.
Okay, so it's Liverpool and United for the last 3 years have been working together. Coincidentally, both of them American owners, both of them teams or people, sorry, who are billionaires who own American football teams or American football franchises, shall I say, have been discussing a way of. So their wording is leveling the playing field. Effectively, is what they've seen it as. And on the face of it, I think if you look at it high level, I don't think it looks like that bad an idea. And I think they've put it together quite well. It's been obviously unanimously rejected, but I think they're going to come back with a second offer. Let's be honest. We all know this isn't the end of this. It's the start of it. It's definitely not the end. But the idea is you reduce the Premier League from 20 to 18 teams. Currently, out of those 20 teams, everybody has a voting right. So if Walsall come up to the Premier League, they get the same voting rights as Man City do. They want to change that to only the 9 teams who've been in the league the longest. So that's the Big Six plus, I think it's Southampton, Leicester, and West Ham, maybe. I can't remember who it is. And 6 of those teams then make the decision for the whole league, which is obviously then going to be City, Liverpool, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. They're the big... Oh, so Everton, the other one, sorry. So those 6 teams now are effectively going to make all decisions for everything through the Premier League moving forward, whether that's takeovers, whatever it might be. So that's where people are dead against it. But I do like some of the propositions that have come out of it, if I'm honest.
Okay, so give me your personal pros and cons then.
Okay, so I think the cons are it gives too much control to the Big Six. So breaking into that Big Six they're going to make it as almost impossible. And it's all about... And the thing that makes me feel uneasy is the fact that the 2 who've started this are 2 people or 2 groups that own American franchises. That's the bit that makes me feel really uneasy. Because an American franchise will just up sticks and leave. And before you know it, it will be the Red Devils. Arsenal's will be just called the Gunners. It'll be all the stuff that like Wolves have already done, kind of thing. I know the Cardiff City owners wanted to do.
And do you remember when Hull did it as well? And they changed like the Hull City Tigers and stuff.
Yeah, they're changing them into these brands, and it'll be, I don't know, whatever Liverpool will be or whatever it'll be. Like Chelsea will be the Blue Lions or something like that, and they'll be able to lift up, and they'll have zero connection to the area they're from. And the problem is that
you can understand, right? You can understand the mentality behind, because that idea and that marketing and that branding and stuff works so well in America, but they are such a different culture to British culture in general. But British football culture is so different. This is not. I know it is, right? I know it is entertainment, but it's not entertainment. No. This is about sort of, it's working class. It's come from a place so deep rooted in our history that they could never understand what it is to us. And I say to us as if I'm like one of these people who really understands. I don't, right? I'm 26 and I don't understand what football really is to British culture. My dad has spoken to me a lot about it, as someone who celebrated his 74th birthday on Friday just gone. Happy birthday, Dad. But he's spoken to me a lot about, the football culture in Britain. And these American groups that come in and, like you say, and sort of that's in my head what I think it will be as well, is the whole franchising of it all and making it a brand and marketing it better and making it, making it more global, even though it is already global. But doing that for kind of all the other leagues as well is kind of what it sounds like they're trying to do. It's just so against everything that is the whole reason we all love football in Britain, if that makes sense.
It'll be a European Super League, won't it? That's the idea. Yeah. It'll be the Big Six who'll go off and play Bayern Munich, Juventus, Roma. They'll pick 20 teams from across Europe, PSG, Dortmund, and they'll bugger off and do their own thing. And they'll have those 20 teams, and they'll probably start doing drafts for the younger players and all this.
And this is the thing, I understand it would bang financially.
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand it would bang views. I understand it would bang financially. I understand it would be fantastic for all of these things, but it's not what it is. No. Yeah, it's not what it is. I saw someone the other day tweet about boxing, and they said, because it was to do, I don't even understand boxing that much. I'm not going to explain that I do, but there was someone in there who tweeted who said boxing is not about sport. It's not entertainment. It's business. It's not about what you deserve. It's what you negotiate. So whoever has a title shot will not be the person who's the best fighter. It will be the most sellable person, right? And that cannot be football. It can't be, Tom. It can't be. The fact that it's football at its very core, and everything I love about it is like the whole FA Cup thing, that you can have a bin man score at Anfield, right? Yeah. And it's just brilliant.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing and this is where they've wrapped it up so well, and it's disgusting. In hindsight, I was like, oh, actually, this is really good. But in hindsight now, it's disgusting what they've done. Is they've waited. They've had this idea. It's been on the table for 3 years, or the concept anyway has been there for 3 years. I know it got.
Oh, don't tell!
I know it got
Don't
leaked.
tell me you're going where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Don't tell,
So
because
I know it got.
I don't know the answer to this, but I think I know what you're going to say.
I know it was technically leaked, but we all know if something like teams like Liverpool and United have let this come out, it's come out intentionally. And you're telling me that from what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where you've got all these teams who are weeks, and I mean weeks away from going under forever, and
Hours, yeah.
hours away from it. Well, they were weeks away, 2 weeks away, 2 weeks ago. Sorry. So what it must be like now, and let's be honest, Wales, as when we're recording this, has just gone into full lockdown as of today.
Yeah.
Well, as of Friday, but announced today. Liverpool's obviously gone in, and there's stuff going on with Manchester, get a bit political. So it's likely the UK is probably going to be the same. These clubs can't afford to stay afloat. And now they've all heard that 25% of all revenue generated from the Premier League is going to go down to the lower leagues. You're telling me they don't petition for that. I know at the moment the Premier League makes all the decisions, but it's that bit that you'd like. Oh, it'd be so good if they could do that. It'd be so good if they could do that.
The issue is though it's the survival, isn't it? It's the survival instinct. So
Exactly.
short term, they will do everything to stay afloat, because as long as they are a club and they are continuing to keep going, I think they don't really care about the terms, which is kind of what I think
100%.
you're getting to, which is why they've been thinking about this for years and years and years, and they've come back with it now, which I hadn't made the connection on, and that is absolutely disgusting if that is the case. Which, if it is the case, it is the case. Yeah,
be honest,
it's strategic. It's strategic. It's ruthless, and it's business, and it's disgusting, because these clubs, the majority of them, are not business, and it's like I say to you, they are run on their communities. Their communities keep them afloat, and they give back to their communities through everything that happens on a match day and in and around the club. And it's literally kept alive through those things, through those channels.
Volunteers,
right.
Games, those kind of things. Like you've got.
So while those things are not going on,
that old woman who's been running the tea room for the last 30 years, 40, 50 years, that kind of thing, and then her grandson.
And her exactly, and her mother did it before her, and her grandfather did it before.
Yeah,
and it's all of that, and that's what keeps it so. I don't even know how to get it across or to articulate it, but it's what keeps it so majestic. It's what keeps it so pure.
The beautiful game.
The beautiful game, exactly. And they are going to try and take that away from them. And you're right, the clubs in those positions are backed into a corner, and they don't have another option. It's either that or bankruptcy. And their communities are shattered, so they're going to take it.
So I'm going against basically everything I said a couple of weeks ago, and saying that it's not, because the Premier League is a standalone, they don't have to do it, they shouldn't be forced to do it. But if they're saying they can afford 25% of their revenue, plus I was seeing another couple of things that 6% of all revenue will go to the maintenance of stadiums in the lower leagues as well. So the ones that have fallen apart, 6% of all Premier League revenue will go down to keeping them to a standard. If they can afford to do that, is it then their right to do it now? Now that things have got worse from 6 weeks that we've been doing this, is it now in a place where Gary Neville was in the papers on Sunday saying that they spent £1.2 billion on transfers? I know it's a lot of money, but if you gave every single club in League One and League Two £1 million, that's only £48 million. That's Werner's transfer fee. You give all of them £1 million, how long does that last?
But Tom, this is what I was saying to you when we last did the podcast, and you said no, it's completely a standalone thing. And that's what I said to you, is I understand all of that. I get all of it from a paperwork, black and white sort of way of looking at it. But that's not, and it's what I said at the time. Football is a community, and all of these clubs are communities within the football community, and it is everyone's responsibility to keep it going, and it can't be over a barrel negotiating.
No.
I hate it. I can't stand it. It makes me sick. Because I'm lucky enough that I've supported a massive club my whole life. I literally live a few miles away and have my whole life from Barnet. That could easily be my team. Boreham Wood could easily, they are a stone's throw. But they're not my teams. Yeah. But they could be. And I could very much be in a situation where my club goes down the drain, and the only way they can stay afloat is by being backed into and forced into agreeing terms that are not beneficial for them long term.
So then this sort of goes on quite nicely to the similar thing with the £15 per game.
Tom, makes me sick. Makes me sick.
So you've got that.
I'll let you say, but makes me sick.
So you've got that as well on the same week that they announced this. And the Premier League is saying, no, it's to do with BT, it's their decision, they've bought the match, so they've got the rights to do it. Well, if they've both done it independently, how have they got the same price then? As a starting point, where I don't. It's got to that point now where we were talking off air that we live in Cardiff or Cardiff a surrounded area. That Cardiff are a championship team, so maybe not them. So who's the best? Who's the next best thing? So we're considering becoming Newport County fans and going to a Newport County game. They're second in League Two at the moment, so it's glory hunting. But but why? Like, why not?
Well, hang on. I've done a save with Newport County on FIFA the last 3 seasons. Right? There's no glory hunting here at all.
It makes you think why. Like, it's different for you, but like, what connection do I have to Chelsea really, other than they're the team I've always supported because of whatever reason it was when I was 5, copying my mate because he was cool. I'm not even friends with him anymore. So, like, what connection do I have to Chelsea now, other than I've done it for ages? It's like everyone always, like, people always just stay with their gas provider or their bank account, those kind of things. For what reason? Has it got to that stage now that real people who are doing real 9-to-5 jobs are so disconnected from these monstrous clubs that my girlfriend's been telling me for years? But I've got to that point now. Like, what connection do I have to this? Why they're these behemoth organisations now? They are the Apples and the Facebooks. So why support them? What's the point? Why not go and help Doris sell some pies in Rodney Parade down in Newport?
But this is the thing, that there's just so little integrity left in football anymore. There's just so little morality. It just, like, I mean, £15 per game, right? So I did a bit of research earlier on, right? A Sky subscription with Sky Sports, okay, I'll say £50, £48 a month, right? Yeah. Sky with Sky Sports, £50 a month. Plus, I won't get into setup fees, but there's a lot of money in there as well, okay? BT is £15 a month, right? Amazon, £8 a month.
Yeah.
And then, so that's already £73 a month, right? We are lucky enough for the two of us, right? We both have, for our age, quite decent jobs where, £73 a month to me still would be like, bloody hell, that's a big chunk of my money coming out of my bank account each month. And yet we earn above average UK wage, right? You add in then the pay-per-view of £15, let's say one game. Is it one game a week or 2 games a week?
Oh, no. It's every game that isn't an official televised game. So there was 2 on Saturday, there was 2 on Sunday, and there's 1 today.
No, I thought it was 1 a week, Tom.
No. So the
5,
Chelsea,
potentially, basically 5 per week.
Yeah, so the Chelsea game was, then, so if we go Saturday, so the Chelsea game was, and the Newcastle United game was. Sorry, Newcastle against United game was. On Sunday, I think it was Sheffield United Fulham, and then Leicester Aston Villa, and tonight, West Brom Burnley. So 5 games. So that's, £75 a week on top of that if you want to watch every single game.
So £300 a month, roughly.
Yeah, on top of the £75 you're already paying.
Yeah.
So it's £400 a month.
So nearly £400 a month. And then let's add in, so the setup fees will make it around £400 a month. Okay?
£5,000 a year?
£400 a month. Yeah, £5,000 a year. £5,000 a year to watch football.
To watch the Premier League, yeah.
Tom, I can't stand. Haven't they got enough money?
Yeah, I know. £5,000
They've just spent £1.2 billion on transfers. They've got enough money. What more do BT and Sky want to be giving a better deal to the Premier League? Is it? Who's going to outbid them? And even if they do outbid them, you're all getting a cut. Think about the end user. I can't get over it. £400 a month, Tom.
Do you know what makes it worse? Do you know what makes it even worse? The thing that makes this so much worse is that, have you heard of DAZN or DAZN? DAZN? DAZN.
Yeah, I have DAZ. I've seen boxing stuff on there.
Yeah, so they do a lot of boxing. They've signed some boxers, but that's completely different. But they're in Germany, Italy, the US, Canada, and it is $12.99 a month. And you get, I don't know if the UFC's not on it, but there was another MMA organisation. They've got boxing on there. So Anthony Joshua, if you're in America, you watch every Anthony Joshua fight. So I went to Milan to watch Inter Milan Roma the same night that Joshua's rematch was with Ruiz. So they've got this DAZN thing. You don't have to pay for pay-per-view for that at all. You get it $12.99. So it's in Italy. So $12.99 a month, you get everything. They get every single Premier League game live on there, as well as Bundesliga, as well as La Liga. Everything. $12.99 a month.
So actually, sorry, is this available in the UK?
Nope.
Right. So all people are going to do is pay for a VPN to then change their location to a different country on their browser, and then buy $12.99 hypothetically, or allegedly, right? Some people do. I don't know who. Considering that I said I watched a bit of the second half of the Burnley West Brom game earlier, and apparently that's a pay-per-view game. Some people would type into Google soccer streams HD, click on the Reddit soccer stream, and find it that way. I don't know who these people are. I've heard about
Others
it.
Would. Criminals would. Criminals would.
Allegedly, criminals would do this. Okay, if you don't do it, you're an idiot. But anyway, no. So right, so £15 per game, £75 a week, £400 a month.
So to put that into context, if you live in Germany, so you could be same as we are, but live in Germany, could be a Frankfurt fan. For £12.99 a month, you can watch every single Premier League game live, every single one, all 38 game weeks, all 10 games, no issues. If you live in the UK, you have to pay £15 to watch West Brom Burnley draw 0-0.
The thing is, though, what annoys me, Tom, is that there are people who are not tech savvy, who are not up to date with all of these things that you can do to watch all of these things, who love their football club, right? They love them. Like you said, you go, I don't know what attachment I have to Chelsea. But Tom, it doesn't matter how you got into it. It's now you. It's your blood. You cannot. Like Shauna says it to me all the time. She literally goes, why don't you just go and support another team when Arsenal are doing rubbish? And I go, I literally can't. Yeah, you can choose your girlfriend. People choose to break up with their families, their wives, their kids. You do not, and you cannot break up with your football club. I don't know why, but you just can't do it. It just doesn't happen.
It's the one thing you can't change. It's just one thing.
But there will be people then, because of that, who love their football club, who will have to. If it was the only way I could watch Arsenal, I'd do it.
Allegedly. It is the only way you can watch football.
Allegedly. But the Arsenal games are usually televised. But anyway, allegedly, right?
Yeah, we've got that benefit, to be fair.
But if it was the only way I could watch Arsenal, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be able to afford the £400 a month, probably.
And we're like you said, we're at the point we love football so much that we've started our own podcast doing it, and I'm not paying £5,000 a year to watch it.
No,
not a chance.
But equally, Tom, we're of the age and the sort of tech, integrated society to be able to figure out that there is other ways of doing it, allegedly, right? Yeah. So there is people who are not of that generation who will sit there and go, that is my only way to go through Sky box office. I know how to get onto it. I know how to get there to it. I understand how my bill comes through my door at the end of the month, and I go in and I put in my PIN and I pay £15 a month, £15 for that game.
And again, not being horrible to Burnley, but there's going to be probably thousands of people in Burnley who will have paid that £15 tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Burnley is not an affluent area, and £15 is an awful lot of money.
So say you've got the die-hard ultras of Burnley, and you've got 5,000 of them, and especially now because we're locked down and you can't go to anybody's house, you can't even share a game. Can't even share a game now. 75 grand that Sky or BT, whoever it was, have made. Did you need that, really?
Honestly, it would be a drop in the ocean. It doesn't mean any. This is what I'm saying to you. They're so lost in their business numbers, what's bottom line, what spreadsheets look good on that, everything. They're lost completely in it that they forget that, like you said, Doris, who sold the pies in the fucking tea room for 50 odd years, her and her whole family are Burnley crazy, and they have been for 15 generations.
Yeah.
And £15 is a huge amount of money to them. It's either that game or, maybe a bit of a roast on Sunday. They don't have both. Yeah. And they just completely forget about it. They forget that this is what football is from. And it's the same with Project Big Picture. Football is a community, and within those communities, tiny little communities. And particularly in Britain, tiny little communities that keep that club afloat, and the club help to keep the community afloat. And the big, massive businesses and owner groups and, all of those things that come in and own these football clubs and make these decisions and propose these ideas, they forget completely where football came from and what it still is for a lot of families.
And this is where I think this has been, for me, I've always been, they're a business, they can kind of do what they want. And this is the thing that's really tipped over the edge for me, and I've gone the other way completely now. And it brings me back to the whole... And it might be the same for you now, with the whole Willian Thomas Partey thing, but letting 55 staff go at Arsenal. That was, when we were discussing that, it's like budgets and it's okay for this, that and the other. Just if every player in that if every single player in that team, like Said Ben Rama as an example, Said Ben Rama, as part of his deal to go to West Ham, so it's 5 million loan fee up front for 6 months, and then he's going to pay 20 million as transfer. So they haven't actually paid 25 million technically, but they have. Ben Rama, as part of that contract, has made sure every single employee at Brentford has got a personal bonus into their account for helping him through his career. You're telling me that somebody you don't even have like an Arsenal through and through player now, do you? Somebody who came through the ranks, who's been there long enough. Aubameyang. So Aubameyang's just got a new contract of 350 grand a week. Why can't they have said, right now for the next, because of what's going on, rather than everybody take a 20% pay cut, we can still afford it because we're generating the income. Everyone takes a 1% pay cut. Are you happy with this? Well, and negotiate between the players, 1% pay cut, but that means we don't have to sack a single employee.
Yeah, well, but this is, Tom, this is the thing that, and it's not, when I was saying it was fine, I meant that we were getting a lot of stick for making people redundant to sign those players, which I was saying was actually not, that's not how it worked, right? But actually anything that strengthens the point you're making even more, because they weren't relevant to making those transfers, because they weren't relevant because the money is so insignificant to a club the size of Arsenal. And this is what Arsene Wenger used to say. When the press would say to him, why are you not signing massive players with this amount of money and anything? He'd go, I've got a responsibility to manage the finances in a way that keeps the 1,000 people that we have employed. And that's what I need to do. He would, honestly, I know, Arteta isn't in a position where Wenger was. Wenger controlled a lot of things at Arsenal. Wenger would have Never let it happen. It would have never happened, because he would have happily have said, I will forfeit however much of the wage. I will go in and speak to the players. We will all reduce by this much money as long as we keep those people employed, and probably actually go on a recruitment drive. He understood so well about that football is far more than just numbers, bottom lines, results, and winning trophies.
At the end, prime example of that being, to put a Chelsea spin on it, just because why not? The whole thing that like last season and this season have been probably the two happiest, apart from the Champions League winning season, but my proudest times to be a Chelsea fan, because we played Burnley away last year, and we had 9 Englishmen on the pitch. 7 of them come through the academy. It's like, this is absolutely amazing. It gives you that warm feeling inside. You get that sense of community, which is what it's all about. And it's dying with things like £15 for a game, Project Big Picture. You sign in Willian and Partey, not as like a dig at Arsenal, but what's that? £500,000 a week? Not far off. Probably £350 a week. Say, call it 300 grand a week, just and that's probably being generous. 300 grand a week for the sake of 55 people who now can't pay the mortgage, can't put food on the table for their kids. Like, come on. There's got to be
more than that. Like, it's not even about the paying the bills, because they can go and get another job. Like, as someone who grew up around, and I wasn't even that close to the area. Like I said, there's people who would have literally lived on the doorstep. I was a good 60 miles away or something. But they're still a massive club and close to me. And my dad supported them, so that was my connection with them. But there will be people who woke up every day, walked past the stadium to get to school. All of this sort of, well, particularly in Highbury days, which is still there. And they understand the area so well, and everything, and all the history. And it would have just been their dream to just go into work.
Dream
and
job
them
to work
going
for
into
Arsenal.
work is to go into London Colney, is to be there in the Emirates on match day, all of that thing. And it's just taking that away from people is far more than the financials, far more than the mortgage that can't be paid, all of that sort of stuff. It's the whole, it just ruins the community of football. I can't stand it. I can understand it at lower league games and all the lower league teams and all of that stuff, because that is, like you said, touch and go. When it starts to get to that elite level, it's just it's like the Bayern Munich director said a few years ago when he was talking about raising ticket prices, because I still think theirs is £30 a game, like cheap. home and away, or maybe even a little bit cheaper. And he was saying, because they asked, why are you not going to increase it, and he basically said, well, each week it would mean that we earn £1 million more, right, on match days. He goes, £1 million we argue over in a transfer deal for 3 minutes maximum.
Yeah.
It just means nothing at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, okay, brilliant.
Yeah,
there just needs to be, because he understands again that in Munich, even though Bayern Munich are that elite level, in Munich they are that community.
Yeah, but do you know why that is?
I just hate that we're going so far away from it.
Do you know the difference? What? So, do you know about the ownership structure in Germany? every single club is fan owned.
Oh, really? Oh,
That's why
okay.
they all hate Leipzig. They all hate Leipzig. They all hate Hoffenheim. I think it's the other one.
Hoffenheim, yeah.
Yeah, because they're cheating the system. Basically, every other club is fan owned. So you've got shareholders or people on the board, and you have somebody from the fans there, and they have part ownership of the club, and they make the decisions. So when he's saying these things, it's because the fans have got a foot in the door. They're helping run the club. So you look at these clubs further down the league. You get that this is what football is all about, and we've completely lost it in the Premier League now. And it's got to that point where I'm just like, I'm still going to watch it, obviously, but getting tired of it now.
It's that thing of, and that's why with the Project Big Picture, is that regardless of what you can tell me the pros are, the way in which they've approached the deal for the lower league clubs, the impact that it will have in terms of the bigger teams being the decision makers. It's all so, like you said about the whole franchise potential as well. It's all so soulless. I just hate it.
Yeah,
it's not that it's not, it is. There is literally. I know you would say, "Oh, football's nothing without fans," and yet there's no fans in the stadium, and there hasn't been for however long. But there is. It's still nothing without fans. You know what I mean? Every single fan is what makes the football club. It's what makes the players big. It's what makes the money. It's what makes the merchandise sell. If we all just stopped, that it would overnight just be nothing.
Yeah.
And there is no thought given to us as the end user, as the consumer. And I can't stand it.
I think it's maybe even been. It's probably the worst week they could have done it because it's derby week across the Premier League. Every game's pretty much been a derby of some description. Well, not every one, obviously, they can't all be, but a lot of them have been. So it makes you think. Just like imagine that. So Brighton and Palace, as an example, that Brighton 89th minute goal goes in, deflected bottom corner. They've been absolutely battering Palace for the full 90 minutes. Imagine being in there. Like the Merseyside derby, take VAR out of it. Imagine being in there when Henderson puts that ball.
I thought the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah. Imagine being a West Ham.
Imagine it. There's pitch invasion. There's got to be. You've got to go mental. That goal as well. Oh, imagine
incredible,
it though.
Yeah.
That's when you're like on Sky Sports, the camera, the screen shaking, everyone's going nuts. That's Like imagine the Aguero moment in an empty stadium.
I mean, Martin Tyler would have still made it something, but
but it's not.
But I know what you mean. Yeah,
you people crying in the stand. You can't, and that's the problem. They're slowly but surely chipping away at it and taking it away because they don't care about the people in the UK watching it. The people who've grown up with these clubs, all they care about is the Chinese market, the American market, the Middle Eastern market.
It's the tourism. But this is what, funny enough, I saw someone on, I can't remember what it was, it might have been on Instagram. I think it was just a Liverpool fan talking on like Liverpool fan TV or something. And he was talking and he said, I hate going to Anfield. This was actually, it was a clip from about a year ago. Yeah, and he said, I hate going to Anfield now. And he said, not just Anfield. He said, every single big Premier League club. He said, it's just a tourist ground. He said it's not the people of Liverpool, it's not the people of Everton, it's not the people of North London, of Arsenal, it's not the people of Tottenham. It's none of these things. It's just tourists. It's people coming for an Instagram picture. It's people coming for the clout of it all.
Yeah.
Because none of the working class people can afford it anymore. They've been priced out of the game completely. And this is just going another step. And I know that people are going to say, but if they're not paying for tickets for the match day, then surely, they've got that disposable income. It's like, trust me, no one can afford the bloody match day tickets anyway. People who go to the match days and manage to fork it out every week, I bet they're in some hella debt.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid expensive. Not even just the tickets, the whole day, the whole experience. And yet they go every single time because they love, you do stupid things, you make stupid decisions that have negative impact on yourself when you love something, right? You can't help it. And it just takes everything away from it. They're all being priced out of it. And I can't stand the thought of that. I cannot. I don't know why. It just... No.
Doesn't sit right with me, Trappers. Doesn't sit right with me.
Me neither.
No, and I think it might... the more we talk about it, the more I think surely, because it's been unanimously rejected by all 20... Well, not all 20 clubs, obviously the ones who want to do it, but it's unanimously been rejected as a proposal. And I said earlier, they're going to come back for more. They're going to come back. Because I was watching the kickoff on Saturday, and they were talking about it, and it was like the fact that they made the Premier League, and I was talking about it then with my girlfriend later. taking the dog for a walk, and I was trying to explain it while she didn't listen to me. This Project Big Picture and all these clubs. And she's like, yes, Tom, yes. But trying to explain to her, like probably the birth of the Premier League, which we weren't there for, is the start of it. That's the start of it. It's just slowly chip away. Abramovich takes over.
Yeah, you're so true. You're so right. You are so right.
Why isn't it Division 1 still? Why isn't it Division 1, 2, 3, and 4? Why does it have to be?
Because it wasn't as broadcastable.
Yeah, why does it have to be the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, League 2? Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, conference, and then do whatever you do after that. Why isn't it that? Because it's not marketable. The introduction of the Premier League is the start of this. Then you get Abramovich coming in with his oil money and the only reason he did it was to buy a business. And you've got what Mike Ashley's doing at Newcastle. It's ripping the soul out of that club. And it's just
Kroenke at Arsenal.
Yeah, you go down the list. It's getting to that point now where, and I don't know, maybe everyone's just keen for revolution in the UK as it is. But it's getting to that point where you're going to start boycotting, and people are going to, like you said, consider looking at alternative ways of watching football.
But this is the thing, though. So Tom, let's say, right, we go, okay, let's imagine we supported Cardiff right now in the location we're in. We supported Cardiff. Let's imagine they were a massive team. Okay, let's say this was all happening with those teams, and eventually it gets to the point where we're priced out of it, and we go, okay, let's go to Newport and support them because they're a local club, and we'll get really.
Yeah, you're not going to do it. It's a rival, though, is it? You're not going to do it.
Right. Well, yeah, but like, fine. Let's say we even got above all of that, and we went, you know what? We are going to go and do it. Let's say it's not that big a rivalry. I mean, it's a rivalry in terms of location, but football-wise, they're not rivals. No one cares, right?
Never play. Yeah.
So it never play each other. If it was like Swansea, different story, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so we go and support Newport. The thing is, it wouldn't matter at all to the people who were in charge of these massive clubs. Sorry.
It would eventually,
because their bottom line, but their bottom line wouldn't change.
It would, though. Their bottom line would change eventually because the reason.
Because
like you said, the only reason that it is a thing, the only reason that they can pay, like the TV rights deals last time round were just huge. The only reason they can do that is because of the advertising, and the only reason they can do it because of the advertising is because they've got people in the stadiums and they've got fans willing to buy the products that they're advertising. So as soon as you get fans not buying those products or them not seeing the advertisers not seeing a return on their investment, Sky Sports not seeing a return on their investment, as soon as you start seeing the wheels come off it, that's the only way. It is the only way you do it, is people boycotting. Nobody should pay £15 for a game. It shouldn't happen. And I think from now on, I'd never even consider it.
No.
Never consider it.
No, me neither.
Unless it is, it doesn't make any sense because then they don't charge anything for the Champions League final or the FA Cup. I know the FA Cup finals with BBC, so it's different, but fair enough. You charge me $29.99 to watch the Champions League final. Yes, I'll take that. It's a one-off game.
I still wouldn't.
I
know what you mean. It's more sellable.
A World Cup final.
I still wouldn't.
Those types of things. Yeah, fair enough. Charge me for that because it's once every 4 years. Or the Champions League final is this massive one-off game. But no offence. Why should I pay £30 this weekend to watch a 0-0 between Burnley and West Brom and a 1-1 between Sheffield United and... can't remember who they played. Fulham. I'm sorry. I'm not paying £30 to watch 3 hours of that. £10 an hour to watch that. Probably couldn't pay me £10 an hour to watch that. But it's madness. It's absolute madness.
It is. And to be honest, I don't know what the solution is because I don't know at what point the voices are heard. I don't know if it is when the boycotting starts happening, but I don't know how long that will take for that to take effect. I mean,
didn't work at Newcastle, did it?
No. And this is the thing, you don't know when it will start to, if the penny will ever drop. It will probably be when it's all too late anyway.
By that point, you're watching the Red Devils against the Gunners in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Tom, don't. Because the thing is that is such a spot-on prediction. And it, honestly, my heart actually just hurt. I genuinely got a pain in my chest. Like that actually, I can't even imagine it. If you tell me, that, honestly, the day in which that happens, and I think it will eventually, it will just be the day that I go, I loved and always loved Arsenal, and they're not that anymore.
Yeah, they won't be. They'll slowly but surely do it. And it's the thing is because it's that thing. I said it's ripping out. We're not even. Like, I'm a big Chelsea fan. You're a big Arsenal fan, but we're not the go to every home game, go to the away games, go and pay.
No, mainly because of where we live.
Yeah, but going like I'm not going to fly out to whoever we've like. I'm not going to fly out to Rennes away in the Champions League. I know I can't this year, but I'm not that big a fan to do that. There are people who are that big a fan of it. For them, it is literally ruining their life. It's their one constant in their life that is everything to them, and they put all of their money into it. They don't do anything else, and it's just ruining everything. They live for that Saturday, isn't it? It's
the thing is, though,
disgusting.
and do you know, you're breaking my heart a bit here, because the thing that you said that I kind of hadn't really considered is that they are going to come back. Now that it's been an initial proposal, this isn't going to go away. The more and more foreign owners that come in, the more and more consortiums there are, the more and more links and connections they all have with each other. You know, apparently, I think it came out that was it like Tottenham and Arsenal are also been involved in the talks. You know, on the side for like a few years. And again, Kroenke is an American owner, big into baseball franchising, all of that sort of stuff. And you just go, do you know what? This isn't going to go away, is it? And do you know what? I don't even know where to go with that, because
you look
that is a horrible thought.
You look at this, because you think about it with the Glazers, you look at how much protest there's been with United, that the fact they've created Salford FC pretty much, didn't they? In like backlash to it. And there was the other team.
And there's FC of Manchester.
FC of Manchester. So they've done all these things, which is pretty much as far as you can go. They can't go any further, but they can't stop the Chinese tourists coming in to go to Old Trafford. They can't stop that. So, and when you a brand as big as they are, and the fact that I think Manchester City had a floated stock that you can buy, when you get to that size, they don't, like I said, there's nothing you can do. Like, Manchester United fans have done as much as you possibly can. There is nothing else.
But also, though, this is the thing, right? I want to make the point that it's not like I'm sat there going, "Oh, okay." Tourists are coming in, bloody tourists coming in and watching the football game. They're watching my football. No, it's not like that at all, right? It's like I love that football is a community, and the fact that it's a global community is the best thing that there is, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I fully believe that there's a fan in Argentina who can be far more of an Arsenal fan, deep rooted and everything than I am, even though I was born pretty close to the stadium, right? Not like far away at all. So it's not like I think that it has to stay within Britain or anything like that. I just think for the whole world, for the whole community, for the whole global thing, you've got to consider the end user, the consumer. You've got to. And the whole clubs just ignore it. They are purely making it a marketable brand franchise. And I can't.
It's globalized franchises. It's globalized franchises because they're going to. I can't think of who was. I don't think anybody's done it yet, openly. But there's been times where you look at certain signings, and you think about it, and you think you could have signed somebody else there, but you've chosen to sign a Chinese or a Japanese player, or a Korean player. I think United Park Ji-sung, I think, was one that it was rumoured that as part of the deal, the reason they went for him in particular is because they wanted to get into the Korean market. It's the monetization of football as a product, and it's that thing. Football's now turned from a sport into a product, hasn't it?
Well, do you know what? This has annoyed me because I thought we were going to have a pretty, like a brief conversation. I thought it was going to be a long conversation, but I thought pretty much we were just going to slate off the idea of leaving behind, the lower leagues of British football, basically, and kind of playing sort of big boy tactics against them. And I thought that was going to kind of be it. But it's slowly and more and more as it's got onto the conversation that football is kind of going through an eventual slow but inevitable death.
Well, because you think about it,
and I've just got to support it for as long as it lasts.
Yeah, because you think about it, and the reason looking at it like this, I'm thinking if I was in their shoes, and what I'm trying to do is, let's be honest, the Glazers don't care about United. What have they called?
Kroenke literally doesn't give a crap about Arsenal.
No, is it the Fenway?
No crap's given.
Is what they're called? I can't remember the people.
It's something. Yeah, I think that's right. The Liverpool one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like LeBron James isn't a Liverpool fan, but he owns stock in Liverpool. They don't care. LeBron James hasn't bought a portion of Liverpool because of their history. I'm sorry. If he'd done that, he'd have bought Accrington Stanley or
Portsmouth.
Or Notts County. I think Notts County, the oldest team in the Football League. He'd have bought them. He hasn't done it for that. He's done it because he's had it as an investment proposition put in front of him. This is going to give you returns of X% a year. And he's gone, yeah, sounds great. And when they're your owners, and all your owners care about is making profit at the end of the year because you are a private company, what do you think the people making those decisions there are going to do? All they're going to do is adhere to shareholders the same way you get Amazon, Facebook, Starbucks, all of these doing it, it's going to turn into that, because that's what they are now. Football clubs have now become commodities to be invested in rather than clubs to be supported, which is
Good line.
great.
Well
Great
done.
way to
That was
end.
really, really
Jesus.
well put. That.
Oh God.
Honestly, so basically,
God.
football as we know it has got
It's
a terminal
dead.
illness,
It's dead.
and we're just there
Watching
waiting
it.
for it to slowly
Yeah.
die.
God.
Fucking hell. Well,
Jeez.
thanks for listening, everyone. I
Yeah.
hope you've
Goodbye.
enjoyed episode 6. Hope you enjoyed episode 6 of the podcast.
Yeah.
We had a 2-week break, and I might take a fucking 2-year break after this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. England were a bit crap, weren't they? So, finish it off, yeah.
As we said, does anyone care about international football?
Yeah,
Just cut it
exactly.
there. I'll cut this episode 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
Release it with that. Not depress the whole world of football.
Yeah, it's just that's gonna be it. Kane was really good on the weekend, and then just white noise for an hour and a half.
Silence.
Yeah.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, no, so that is us actually done. Really,
Yeah.
actually interesting chat, and it's actually something that I've probably had thought of, but not really that much before. So it's actually good to kind of be more and more aware of that as well. If you have any sort of thoughts about what we've been discussing this week, then please get in touch. As always, we say it every week that we're going to release clips on the YouTube channel, and then every single week, with the fact that we're adults and have jobs and lives outside of this, kind of gets in the way. Although, as Tom mentioned earlier on, we have now been put into lockdown for the next 17 days, so I literally don't have an excuse not to do it. So I might as well do it. So we will be putting clips out on social media, so make sure you check those out as well. But apart from that, again, not really much structure this week. A lot of things going on in the football world. But it's been good to discuss them and get them out there. Let us know what you think of this episode and the things that we've discussed within. But apart from that, tune in next time, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.